reservation, Campbell County knows how to throw a party. Campbell County Republicans. And as a matter of fact, I just don't know a place I'd rather be than in Campbell County with a room full of Republicans. So, welcome. I'm Ken Yager, Senator Yager. I have a privilege to represent Campbell County as part of the 12th District of the Senate. It's good to be here. It's like a family reunion for me. It's just good to see people I know and love. And I'm going to get us through the program tonight and get y'all home in time a little bit and get a good night's sleep before church tomorrow. And I want to, at this time, we're going to have a presentation of colors. I would like to ask all of us to stand for the presentation of colors and remain standing for the national anthem that will be brought by Ms. Debbie Bruce and the Pledge of Allegiance by Logan Hickman.
Color guard, attention. Color guard, forward, march. Mark time, march. Post the colors.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's give a round of applause to the technician. He's doing a good job tonight. I am really delighted. Now you may be seated. I am delighted to introduce the Bishop of Michael from the Following Church of God. He is going to bring our invocation and to bless the food, and he is also going to bring, very appropriately, a prayer for Israel. Bishop Dent.
What an honor it is to be here tonight with some of the greatest people in the world. And I want to point out a couple of things before we do pray. That today, October the 13th, marks the anniversary of the day when the Congress, Continental Congress, and the senators, all of them were part of that in 1792, when they laid the cornerstone for the White House. That marked a major day in the history of the United States of America. Also, October the 13th, which you would have to go back onto the Jewish calendar to figure that out. And no, I'm not Jewish, but I'm here tonight to honor Israel as well. And so anyway, it was on that day. Thank you so very much. And it was on that day, which coincides with the laying of our cornerstone for the White House, that Joshua called all of the 12 tribes of Israel together and divided the promised land unto them. Well, as you well know, that from that time until this very minute, there has been great controversy over Canaan and that land. But tonight, we're going to bless the United States of America, and we're going to bless our closest ally, the state, nation of Israel. Amen. Those of you who don't know, on the southwest corner of the temple in Jerusalem, the priests, the Levites, and all those would gather together and blow a shofar like that on Shabbat, which is Friday evening until Saturday evening. So it just so happens we're here on Friday evening. And in 2020, I had the grand distinction of being the last person to go through the turnstile at Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv before they shut it down because of COVID. Well, this past May, we got to go back. We took about 30 people with us, and I brought back the most authentic, least expensive souvenir that you could ever bring back. From 45 different locations in the nation of Israel, I brought back some soil. Brought back some pebbles, because every time that I go into my office, I see this and it reminds me to pray for the nation of Israel. Would you stretch your hands this way, please, and let us pray. Almighty God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we bring the United States of America and the nation of Israel both before you. We declare that there is no God like unto you. You are our Creator. You are the one that watches over us. You watch over the United States, and you also watch over Israel. Your word says that he who watches over Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. So today, Father, we ask that you would bless our nations and that you would strengthen us as we do our best to follow after your word and to do what's right in your eyes. We thank you, Lord God, for the blessings that you've given every one of us. And we just ask that you would work signs and wonders and miracles and protect our nation and protect that land that you call yours, that has been sanctified holy unto you. And we ask it in the name of Jesus. And also bless the food tonight and sanctify it to our bodies and sanctify our lives to your service as we give you glory, honor, and praise through Jesus Christ, our only Lord and Savior. And somebody in the house said, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Dent. Thank you very much. We are now about to start dinner, but let me make one announcement before dinner, that the silent auction is going on right now. and will be going on until we get to the keynote speaker's address. The silent auction will close about that time. So we've got some great things over there. So when you get a chance during the dinner hour and you're through, go on over there and check it out. But it's open now, but it will close before the keynote speaker's address tonight. We do, you know, you'd think me being a politician and all, that I could tell jokes. I've never been good at that. And I thought of several jokes I wanted to tell tonight to get things going. And unfortunately, all my jokes always fall flat. Maybe it may have something to do with me, I don't know. But I know everybody wants to get to dinner, but let me tell you one little story, all right? One story. And of course, it's a true story. But as a kid, I was staying over in West Tennessee, way back when. Back in West Tennessee, there weren't any Republicans over there. It was all Democrat in West Tennessee in years back. And, there was a gentleman over there, a Republican, running for Congress. And so he came up to a farm there. He was out trying to meet people. He came up to a farm and knocked on the door and told the farmer who he was running for Congress as a Republican. The guy just stepped back, looked at him, and said, well, hey, let me go get Mom. She's never seen a Republican before. And so he decided that a couple of other neighbors showed up too, because they all never seen a Republican before. So this gentleman, the Republican, decided that he would make a speech, and he was looking for a place where he could kind of step up on something where he could address the crowd as I'm talking to you tonight. He found I don't know how to say this with a preacher in the room, but he found a big pile of cow dung that had dried. That's pretty good, wasn't it, preacher? He found a big pile of cow dung and stood on it. And so he could make his speech. And he made a great speech. And he said, that's the first, he got on and said, thank you, thank you, thank you. He said, I'm proud to be here to make that speech. He said, it's a record for me to be over here in this Democrat country. He said, I've also set a record tonight. I'm the only Republican that has ever stood on the Democrat platform to make a speech. That's all. Come on now, I tried. Let's eat dinner, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, it's a buffet. We've got some of the finest food here to eat tonight. And Ann didn't tell me the order. I think we're just kind of on our own. Maybe some of you folks closer to us form that line. Oh, excuse me. Me too. The head table gets to go first. And then just follow in. The tables, I would assume the tables that are closer, just get right in line. I've had the privilege to work with Glenn in the state legislature. He was elected as a Rockaway conservative, and he has stayed true to those principles. But he has the ability to work with people. And I've seen that in Nashville when he comes to the legislature. I'm happy to serve now on the state finance committee. So we've got to meet in that committee on some very important state funding for some very important projects in Knoxville that people in Campbell County are going to enjoy. And I was very impressed with his very pragmatic approach to successfully securing the funds for major renovations in the downtown Knoxville area. So he is an outstanding administrator, a good conservative, a man with vision, and I think we're going to hear great things from him in years to come. Glenn Jacobs.
Actually, on the way up here, I got some shocking news. I have an uncle in Chicago, who's a staunch Republican. I just learned that he voted Democrat for the first time ever in this past election. I know it's terrible. Awful. And I know that never would have happened. He never would have voted Democrat if he'd only still been alive. This is like Las Vegas in Campbell County. This is a wonderful venue. So thank you to them. And also thank you to the great caterers and catering tonight. Thank you all so very much. A pastor friend of mine told me that the key to a great sermon is you have a compelling opening and a thoughtful conclusion, and you keep those events as close together as possible, so I'll be very brief. 2 weeks ago, I was in Lincoln-Reagan, Illinois, and I was there for a conference. And I know that never would have happened if he never would have voted Democrat if he'd only still been alive. January 19th, 2021, the price of gasoline in America, the average cost of a gallon of gasoline was $2.38 a gallon. Today across the country, it's $3.63 a gallon. January 19th, 2021, the situation at the southern border was under control. We all know now what's going on down there. And perhaps most importantly, January 19th, 2021, the world was at peace. At least as much peace as this world ever has. Now it feels like we're teetering on the brink of World War III. It matters who governs. Elections matter. Federal, state, and local. And you can see what's happening in Tennessee. We're thriving in Tennessee, and I look around the country at some places and I just shake my head, wondering what happened to America, and then I realize America is very alive and well right here in the state of Tennessee. People are finding it. As Chairman Bowman said, people are realizing that. Nowadays, I moved here in 1995, and I just never left. And nowadays I realize it's one of the best decisions I made in my entire life, was to come to East Tennessee and to stay here for 30 years. And I thank God every day that I live in Tennessee, because this is the best state in the Union. Thank you all so very much.
Jimmy, well, let's get you to come on up here, Jimmy. While he's coming up here, let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that the silent auction will close before the speech of our keynote speaker, so you have a few more minutes. There's enough politicians left to speak and stretch it out a little bit. Jimmy's not a politician. We'll, if you want to, right on over there, it won't bother us at all. But Jimmy doesn't. Jimmy has had the very fine reputation of being the most conservative member of Congress. He's also a man that thinks for himself, and he does what is best for his district, the state, and the nation, and that's reflected in his votes. He's my friend. We've got to know each other really since you've retired. He helped us when he was in Congress, but we've really got to know each other. And one thing I would tell you about, the most important thing about Jimmy Duncan, he's an all-around good guy. He cares about people, and he'll treat you right. Let's give Jimmy Duncan, our neighbor, a good round.
Thank you very much, Senator. Every nice thing you said about me, I could say back about you. Ladies and gentlemen, many years ago, probably about 23 or 4 years ago, just as I was being introduced to speak to the First Baptist Church of Alcoa, my then 13-year-old son, Zane, leaned over and whispered to me very emphatically. He said, when you get up to speak for 3 minutes. Do not speak more than 3 minutes. And I whispered back and said, why, Zane? And he said, because your speeches are boring. And I told that to a Lions Club this summer about 4 years later in Englewood, Tennessee. And a little Cub Scout named Nick Angel, I'll never forget his name because of what he said to me. He came up and he said, Mr. Duncan, your speech was good in that part. That surprised me, but then he said, your son was right. It was boring, but it was short. So let me just say 3 quick things. First of all, I had the privilege and honor to serve with tonight's guest speaker, Colonel Allan West, in the Congress. People don't realize how much turnover there is up there, and in my 30 years there, I served with almost 1,500 other members. And this man you're going to hear tonight was one of the very, very best, and I'm proud to be here with him tonight. Secondly, most of you know, or many of you know, that my dad represented Campbell County, all of the whole county, 18 of his 23 and a half years in Congress. And then I represented the Jellicoe and Elk Valley area, just the northern tip for my last 6 years. And I can tell you the people of Campbell County could not have been nicer to me and my family, and I just want to say thank you for that. And then I'll say lastly, and I understand he's not here because his family's on fall break or something, but Dennis Powers, and this is an absolutely true story. Dennis Powers ran for state representative every 2 years, and he ran 3 times, and all 3 of those times, he asked me to come out and campaign for him, and I did. He lost all 3 of those races. Then he ran 2 years later, and he didn't ask me to come out, and he won. That's an absolute true story, so I'm relieved that Dennis is still in office because I almost ended his political career before it even started. But lastly, I'll just say this. I spoke at a Republican dinner in Monroe County Saturday night, and they had the biggest crowd they've ever had. That's happening all over this country, my friends tell me. And, you know, people are fleeing those Democrat-run cities and states as fast as they can get at it. I tell young people that all my life, when I've gone into other states, people tease me about my accent and ask me to wear shoes and call us hillbillies and sometimes make fun of us. Now everybody in the whole country wants to live right down here with us. I said my first paycheck as a bag boy at the A&P grocery store in Knoxville, I was making $1.10 an hour, and I sent $19 and some odd cents to the Bear Gold Water campaign. I have followed this since I was in high school, but I have never seen, heard, or read about a president who has done as much damage in a short time as Joe Biden is. And I can tell you what's happening, and I really believe this is all my heart. Just a little over a year from now, because everybody all over this country, even many Democrats, are so fed up that the headlines all across this nation 13 months from now are going to read Republicans retake White House, maintain control of Congress, and it'll be a great day for America when that happens. And I thank you very, very much for letting me be with you tonight.
Congressman Fleischman and Burchett aren't here tonight because they're doing the job we elected them to do. They're in the Congress, which is me. If they have representatives here, if I can get the gentleman to come up here, we're going to briefly speak for them. Dalton Temple and Mike Wright. This is Dalton Temple. He'll be saying the word for Congressman Fleischman.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. The congressman wishes he could be here. I tell you what, you're in for a treat. The last time I was in a room like this with Colonel West was 2016 or 17 in Chattanooga. And if he'd have summoned a sword and a flag from his suit jacket after that night, we'd follow him all the way to Washington. Hang on, everyone. This man says it's going to be a great night with a great speaker. Congressman wanted me to leave you with this. He is working very hard for you and to get a speaker back in that office so the House of Representatives can continue its work. And he will be unforgiving, unapologetic, and steadfast in his support for Israel and its right to defend itself while it goes through this war with Hamas. And we will be in Campbell County soon. We wish you to be here tonight. Thank you all.
Good evening. I'm Michael with Congressman Tim Burchett. As Dalton said, our bosses are actually up in D.C. We've heard a lot over the past several years about draining the swamp. It's a very tough swamp to drain. Recently, you may have heard a lot on the news. The Congressman pulled a really big plug and drained a big chunk of the swamp. A lot of folks up in the D.C. establishment aren't too happy about that. But the problem is, this country's been more than 20 years since we passed a budget. We continue to fund our government weeks, months at a time, or 1 year at a time with massive spending bills that Speaker Pelosi says we have to pass in order to know what's in it. That's absurd. We live in a world where American citizens are justifying terrorism in the Holy Land. What's wrong? That's the message Congressman Burchett has for us tonight. He wishes he could be here. He asks that you all take a moment of silence for Israel, take a moment to pray for Israel, pray for God's people, pray for this country. Thank you.
We're all waiting anxiously to hear our guest speaker tonight. I have a few remarks to make, but I want to respect his time and keep those remarks brief. I have a few things to say. I'm just going to close on a couple of personal comments as well. But First of all, thank you for letting me serve in the Tennessee State Senate, where we have made a difference for Tennessee, the General Assembly. You know, we start today, this day, this night, the march to victory in the next presidential election, when we elect a Republican president of the United States and sweep out that crew who has brought this nation to the brink. And that battle will start right here in Campbell County. Now, we all know that Campbell County will turn out a good vote. Get out to vote here. It starts here. We need to re-elect Dennis Powers, Ken Yager, Chuck Fleischman, Tim Burchett, Marshall Blackman, and the list goes on. And whoever our nominee is for president, we're going to get behind them and elect them. We're going to put the differences of the primaries behind us and elect a Republican and put an end to the cancer that is going on in Washington now. And here's what we can tell them, particularly those of us who are in Tennessee, because we're an example of what you can have when Republicans take over. I'm proud that I live in a state that has the lowest per capita tax in the nation. We live in a state that has virtually no debt. We live in a state that has one of the best retirement programs for its senior citizens and teachers. We live in a state that has recently been determined as one of the most easiest places to start a business in Tennessee because we're business friendly. And finally, we live in a state that has been judged by U.S. World and News Report as the best financially managed state in the nation. That's what Republicans do. We said we'd do it, and we did it. And that's the message that we need to take out when we start our campaign to put a Republican, keep the Republicans we have here and put a Republican in the White House. And one other thing, I'm proud that we live in a state where we took a stand on some important moral issues, that we said you couldn't have drag shows in public places, and we're not going to let you mutilate young people, sexually mutilate anybody that's over 18. We're not going to do that. This all happened several years ago. I think maybe Glenn used the phrase a moment ago. But we said when we asked for the majority that it matters who governs, and it does. And we've proved that you can run a state efficiently and do what you need to do. No taxes. We've turned back over $1 billion in the Haslam and Lee administrations in tax cuts back to the people. That's money in your pockets. Money. And I agree with Ronald Reagan that I think people have a better sense about how they want to spend their own money instead of letting the government do it. Don't you? And I'm proud of that record. So just remember, the battle to take the White House starts right here in Campbell County. We need to arm ourselves with the facts. You've heard the message, part of the message tonight that we can go forward with. And we need to get ready to do whatever we need to do here and outside our county to make sure we elect Republicans. And I want to close now my part of the program with some very personal comments, if you don't mind. But I think many of you here knew that I had cancer for about a year. I lost about a year of my life about 2 years ago when they told me I had stage 4 prostate cancer. And I asked people all over the district to pray for me. And there are people in this room that prayed for me. And I am forever grateful for that, because, my friends, we serve a God that answers prayer. And God has answered our prayers. My last checkup, I've gone from stage 4 to no detectable cancer. And that's lost a little weight, I'm lean and mean, I'm fit as a fiddle, and I'm ready to go, and I'm running for re-election next year. Thank you. We can get Logan up here. Yeah, come on up here. Now, he's supposed to introduce our principal speaker, who's making his way, but I want to introduce the introducer. I've had the privilege to know Logan Hickman for several years now, and I found him always to be a perfect gentleman. Most of you folks up here know him, and you know the truth of my word. He's He's a fine gentleman. He has served his country well in the armed forces of our nation, and he has jumped back and put his life in this community and helped many people through the battle that he works at. He has done more than many, and he's my friend, and I'm just honored to introduce him. And I'm glad I got to say something like this about him in a public forum.
Particularly in Harris Coleman and all the Republican ladies putting on such a wonderful event tonight, and certainly we're proud to be a part of it. United States Army retired Lieutenant Colonel Allan West is a Christian constitutional conservative. He's a combat veteran. He's a former member of the United States Congress. His life has been defined as one of service, sacrifice, and commitment to the United States of America. He believes it will be conservative, free-market policies, not politics, that secures a sound economic future for America, with growth, opportunity, and returning the promise of the American dream for this generation and for those to come. Allan was born in Atlanta, Georgia, in the same neighborhood where Dr. Martin Luther King preached. He is the third of 4 generations of military service members in his family, all combat veterans that have served. Colonel West was commissioned through the University of Tennessee Army ROTC program. That's where I met him. I introduced him earlier today, and I was a senior when he was a freshman. And he said I dropped him to push-up. So looking at him, I think I did a pretty good job. But he was commissioned as a second lieutenant on the 31st of July, 1982, and he entered active duty on the 1st of November, 1983 at Fort Sill, and he is a field artillery officer. His first tour of duty was with an airborne unit in Vicenza, Italy, with the 325 combat team, something that he served with my brother Bill. During his 22-year career in the United States Army, Colonel West served in several combat zones. Once again, we served together in the same battalion task force in the 1st Infantry Division, the Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and then 10 years later, he served as a battalion commander in Iraq in the 2000s. He's received the Bronze Star. He's received the Meritorious Service Medal 3 times. He has 3 Army Commendation medals to include 1 for valorous service. In November of 2010, Allan was elected to the United States Congress, representing Florida's 22nd District. He is currently the Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union. He's a board member for the Second Amendment Institute. He's a senior fellow of the Media Research Center. He's a senior advisor to the Patriot Academy, and he's a contributing columnist for Town Hall and CNS News. Colonel West is the author of 3 books. Those books are The Guardian of the Republic, An American Woman's Journey to Faith, Family, and Freedom, Hold Texas, Hold the Nation, Victory or Death, and We Can Overcome, An American Black Conservatives Manifesto. In July of 2020, Colonel West was elected as chairman of the Republican Party in the state of Texas by an overwhelming majority of the delegates. Some of his hobbies, he's a distance runner who ran this morning from downtown Knoxville all over the UT campus. He's a master scuba diver. In his spare time, he enjoys his love, University of Tennessee Law. You can check out his tie and also his socks. Yeah, there they are. Colonel West was inducted in the University of Tennessee Army ROTC Hall of Fame, their inaugural class in 2016. He is married to Dr. Angela Fran West, a financial advisor, and they have 2 daughters, Aubrey, who is a board-certified physician assistant, and Austin, who is a nursing care manager. He is also the proud grandfather of 2 grandsons, Jackson and Levi, and Levi was born less than 24 hours ago. We do appreciate Allan delaying his return home to be with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend, Colonel Allan West.
First and foremost, again, thank you to my former colleague, whom I served with in Congress, and I learned so much from Jimmy Duncan. It's always a pleasure to be here in your presence. It's always a pleasure to be back up here Tennessee. This is my 40th anniversary of graduating from Rocky Top. I graduated back in 1983, and it's an honor to be able to share this time with you all. But first and foremost, before I get started, I would like to have every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and Coast Guards to stand so we can thank you for your service to this nation. We do not have the freedoms and liberties that we have in this constitutional republic if we do not have men and women who are willing and ready to stand upon freedom's ramparts and protect those freedoms and liberties for us. And that's why I was so honored when my dad, who was a World War II veteran, and I want you to think about this, when my father was born in 1920, it was not easy to be a black man born in the South in 1920. But when my dad was asked to answer the call of duty, the call of service, he did exactly that when he went to serve in World War II. And at the age of 15, he challenged me to be the first officer in our family because he was just a corporal, and my older brother was just a lance corporal in the United States Marine Corps, and he served in Vietnam. He was wounded in a place called Quezon City. And when my dad said to me that there is no greater honor than to wear the uniform of the United States of America, it was something that each and every one of us must understand. That's part of the legacy that we must pass on to our children and grandchildren. Because as we gather here tonight, it is not about us sitting here tonight. It's about whether 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, there will still be a Campbell County Republican Party, and they will still be gathering, and they will remember you for the stance that you have taken in this critical and very perilous time in the United States of America. Now, before I get started, I would, be remiss if I did not talk about what is going on in the Middle East, where I've spent a pretty good amount of my combat time. You hear people talk about this whole free Palestine. You hear people who are calling themselves Palestinians. But I want you to ask yourself, when was there ever a country called Palestine? When was there ever a people called Palestinians? Now, one of the things that I learned at the University of Tennessee is to kind of do what George Santayana advised us of. George Santayana was a Spanish political philosopher. He said, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And so what I thought I would do is just kind of look up and see, where did this word Palestine come from? What's its origin? And so when you go back and you do your study, you will find, and Pastor, check me if I'm wrong, from 132 AD to 135, it was called the Second Jewish Revolt. It was also called the Simon Bar Kokhba Revolt, because Rome had really put pressure on the Jewish people, and they rose up against Rome. And initially, they were successful in defeating the Romans in this Bar Kokhba Revolt. But Rome did not go away. Rome, as you know, was a very powerful and mighty empire. They could not afford to have this small little area called Judea rise up against them. So they came back with an even greater vengeance. And with that greater vengeance, they decided to eliminate, to exterminate, to eradicate, to erase the Jewish people, Judaism, from the face of the earth. Roman Emperor Hadrian declared, after putting down this revolt, that the capital of this area, Jerusalem, will no longer be called Jerusalem. It will be called Aelia Capitolina. And that the region, Judea, would no longer be called that. It will be called Syria Palestina. P-A-L-A-E-S-T-I-N-A. So the whole reason why this word was introduced was as punishment to the Jewish people for rising up against Roman Emperor Hadrian and that empire. Now, when you look at the word Palestina, what is the root word for that? It's Philistia. Going back to the old Philistines. Y'all remember Goliath, really big guy, kind of like the mayor here in Knox County, okay? And of course, the Philistines were based out of Gaza. But in studying who the ancient Philistines were, they were not Arabs. They were not people that were indigenous to that area. They were Greek. They were from the Aegean Islands. See, when you don't study and you don't understand your history, people will come along and they will feed you all kind of, what did you say, the guy stood on Allan? Okay? That's what they will feed you. And that's exactly what we are. So who was the person that introduced this idea about a certain group of people called Palestinians? Yasser Arafat. Palestinian Liberation Organization. Remember the same people that attacked the Jewish athletes in 1972 Munich Olympics and massacred them? But all by the way, if you study and understand that the uncle of Yasser Arafat, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, was in bed with Adolf Hitler. And they actually supplied troops to go to the Balkans and be members of the SS. And the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem believed that the only way that they could free that region was to exterminate, to eliminate, eradicate, and erase the Jews, the exact same thing that Emperor Hadrian said that he wanted to do. So fast forward to what happened a week ago Saturday. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They're not freedom fighters. They're not trying to liberate this made-up place called Palestine. As a matter of fact, the world's largest ethnic minority without a homeland is the Kurdish people. They have a separate culture. They have a separate language. They have a separate history. We're just talking about Arabs in the region. But when we fail to understand and learn our history, when we fail to read the whole charter of Hamas, which says that they are there to exterminate, to eliminate, to eradicate, to erase the Jews from history. Same thing that Emperor Hadrian said. Same thing that Grand Mufti of Jerusalem said. The same thing that Yasser Arafat was. The same thing that all Islamic terrorist groups do. And I think someone has already brought how absurd it is in the United States of America when we have people that are aligning themselves with a terrorist organization that's responsible for the deaths of 25 Americans. And there's some 25 to 30 Americans that are missing, presumed to be hostages. And people are aligning themselves with that. The fact that you have a member of the United States House of Representatives where we serve, that has the flag of a terrorist organization, that's what it really is, outside her office. The office that you, the American taxpayers, pay for. It's time that we start to say enough. When you talk about the #1 ally that we have in the region, it's right there. When you talk about the Star of David, and then you look over the 50 stars on our flag, there are not too many places out there that have stars on their flag. That's another thing that we should. When you talk about our Judeo-Christian faith heritage, that really is the foundation of the United States of America, because there's no other nation in the world that was founded on the premise that your inalienable rights, your life, your liberty, if you go back and you study John Locke, your property, your pursuit of happiness is endowed to you by our Creator God. But yet we have people who want to exterminate that faith and that religion that is part of our heritage. It is so important that we stand up and we call evil, evil. Because if I'm right, Pastor says in Isaiah 5:20, woe be to those who will call good evil and evil good. They will exchange light for darkness and darkness for light. Sweet for bitter and bitter for sweet. That's where we are in these United States of America. So why are we here tonight? We're here tonight as part of a Lincoln-Reagan dinner. Two men who stood up in a time of evil. Two men who stood up and recommitted this nation to its founding principles and its founding values. See, I want you to think about something. I'm 62 years of age. In 1961, I was born in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, in a blacks-only hospital. How is it that a young man born in a blacks-only hospital 61 years ago can rise up to become a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, to be a member of the United States House of Representatives, to be the chairman of the largest state Republican Party in the United States of America, to run for governor in the Lone Star State, to be a graduate from the University of Tennessee, and be a member of the legacy of Tennessee volunteer students who left this university that went off and fought in the Mexican War. How does that happen? It only happens in this country. And it only happens because of the Republican presidents that we honor and we think about tonight. A Republican president such as Abraham Lincoln, who stood up and said that we will break the physical bonds of enslavement. The 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendments to our Constitution, which ended slavery, which enabled slaves to become citizens, which then enabled slaves to be able to vote, former slaves, which enabled men who were once slaves in the state of Texas, after they found out about the Emancipation Proclamation, remember Juneteenth, 1865, because they didn't have the internet back then. 2 years later, on Independence Day of 1867, 150 black men, because of what Abraham Lincoln did on January 1st of 1863, they founded the Republican Party of Texas. Now, how is it that we have these chuckleheads on the other side that all of a sudden telling us Joe Biden created Juneteenth? How is it that we have these people that are looking at us and declare that we're the racists in the United States of America? Those who fail to learn their history are doomed to repeat it and allow other people to manipulate it and change it. See, the Republicans must go back, just the same as I did the analytical study of where did this word Palestine come from? We got to go back and study and understand who we are and what we stand for. And we've got to go out there and take this message to every single community in the United States of America. The party of systemic racism is the party that gave us slavery. It's the party that gave us segregation. It's the party that gave us Jim Crow. It's the party that gave us lynchings. It's the party that gave us a president who screened the movie Birth of a Nation, which was the story of the Ku Klux Klan in the White House. It's the party that told Martin Luther King Jr., no, we will not allow you to have a carry permit. It's the party that told Rosa Parks you have to go to the back of the bus. And they're still trying to put all of us in the back of the bus. But if you don't study and understand your history, you will allow them to take over your history. The Civil Rights legislation of 1964 did not pass because of Lyndon Johnson. It passed because of Republicans. Senator M. Dirksen. The longest running filibuster in the history of the United States Senate are Senate Democrats against the Civil Rights legislation. How many of y'all do that? See, that's the power of knowledge of who you are. Sun Tzu would say in The Art of War, if you know yourself, if you know your enemy, and if you know the environment, the atmosphere in which you are operating, you will always be successful on the battlefield. We are on an ideological battlefield right now. Abraham Lincoln made sure that we lived up to the premise that said, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. He broke the chains of physical enslavement. Ronald Reagan broke the chains of economic enslavement. Ronald Reagan allowed us to understand that America is about your indomitable entrepreneurial spirit. The government exists to set the conditions for your economic success. You know, Mayor Jacobs just told you about what the gas prices were on January 21st, 2001. $3.49. The inflation rate on that day was 1.4%. It went up to 9.1% within a year. It's still somewhere between 3.5 and 4%. You see it, you feel it when you go to the grocery stores and to the gas pumps. We had a strategic petroleum reserve. We were energy independent. Now we only have 17 days of a strategic petroleum reserve. Dropped down 60%. Our national security. For the third straight year, our military has not met its recruiting and retention rates. As a matter of fact, those of you who served in the Army just last week, they came out and said they want to cut the Army Special Operations Forces, the Green Beret, by 3,000. What message do you think that sends to Russia, China, to Iran, to North Korea, and to Islamic jihadists? Especially when China knows that they have a bigger surface wartime fleet than we do. And ask yourself, when was the last time we saw an Asian nation enlarge their maritime capability, their navy? Remember that? Remember what happened after that? But that's where we are right now. We have B-2 bombers that are being grounded. F-35s that can't keep up their maintenance readiness rate. We had the Chief of Naval Operations testify earlier this year that the Navy does not have enough amphibious shipping to move Marines, which is their primary duty, amphibious assault, to any contingency area. What message does that send about our national security? Our foreign policy is a joke. I served 2.5 years in Afghanistan working with the Afghan army. That was an absolute strategic operation attacking the Kabul. 13 Americans lost their lives for no reason. Yet nobody has been held responsible or accountable. And we still have someone sitting in the White House that says it was a great operation. I've been down to the border 15, 16 times. Last time I was at the border was in August. If you study and look at what happened to Israel last week Saturday, it's because they lost operational control of their border zone with Gaza and with Hamas. Here in the United States of America, we are purposefully and intentionally giving up operational control of our border. Tennessee, I'm sure you have problems with fentanyl. Tennessee, I'm sure you have problems with human and sex trafficking. Texas, where I live, is the #1 state in the United States of America for human sex trafficking. The top 2 cities in the United States of America for sex trafficking, Dallas and Houston. This is what has happened. And oh, by the way, 6 to 7 million people coming into your country illegally. Mainly a lot of single military age males, to include single military age males from China. We're setting ourselves up for the exact same thing. And when you go out to West Texas, I don't know how many of you have been out to West Texas, that's where the wide open Big Bend Mountains are. The people that are coming across from West Texas are not the ones that want to be apprehended. They don't want to be detained. They're what you call the gotaways. In other words, there are people in the United States of America, we don't know who they are, we don't know where they are. Just today, there were 2 people that were apprehended at the border in Texas from Lebanon. The cartels are a terrorist organization. They have control of our border, and they will take money from anybody to get them into the United States of America. You know, the state senator just talked about the absurdity that we see happening. How interesting it is that people can go out and protest and support a terrorist organization that just killed Americans. And I've seen the photos of little bitty heads of babies that were decapitated. Now, those people can go out and protest and take the side of a terrorist organization. But then all of a sudden, if you're a parent that shows up at the school board meeting, you're a domestic terrorist. All of a sudden, if you're a member of a group called Moms for Liberty, you're a domestic terrorist. All of a sudden, if you're a member of the Catholic Church, the FBI is seeking to infiltrate your church, all because you believe in pro-life. Oh, and if you're a pro-life activist, the next thing you know, the FBI is banging on your door, conducting a raid to your house. But yet the terrorists, the real people that are out there supporting terror, we're letting them go run around free. How absurd it is that we're supposed to be protecting our children. There's supposed to be a thing called Child Protective Services. There's supposed to be a criminal charge called contributing to the delinquency of a minor, yet the other side wants us to take our children to stand up in front of 6'2" grown men who run around masquerading as women. Who would have ever thought in the United States of America that a biological male would jump into a swimming pool and compete against females? And we would applaud that. Thank you for taking the stance that you've taken here in the great state of Tennessee, which is near and dear to my heart. But we need to make sure that that is happening all across the United States of America. So what is the purpose of what I'm trying to say? You're at the tip of the spear. If you go back and you look at the 2020 presidential electoral map for the United States of America, and I challenge each and every one of you to do it. It doesn't take much. Just Google, type in 2020 presidential electoral map by county. And look at all the red that is across that map. And then think about where the blue is concentrated. And you will come to understand the ideological fight that we're in for the United States of America. What is happening here in Tennessee, what is happening in Texas, what I've seen happen in my native state of Georgia. The left is coming in and taking over our major urban population centers. It's a numbers game. Because they believe that eventually they will have enough numbers in major urban population centers to flip a red state. Don't believe me? Look at the state of Washington. In the state of Washington, there is red all over that state except for one area, deep blue, King County, Seattle, Tacoma. If you look at the state of Oregon, same thing. Red all over the place, except for Portland and where the University of Oregon is. If you look at Texas, there's red all over the place, 254 counties, I know. But where's the blue? It's Dallas and Dallas County. It's Austin and Travis County. It's Houston, Harris County, third largest metropolitan area in the United States of America. It's San Antonio, Bexar County. It's El Paso, El Paso County. You look at what happened down in Georgia. How does the state of Georgia all of a sudden have two avowed, basically socialists as senators from that state? Because of the Atlanta metropolitan area, Macon, Columbus, Savannah, and Augusta. You look at the state of Tennessee. How many counties in the state of Tennessee? Look at there and see where you find all of the blue. Major population centers. So it's up to you all here in Campbell County. And here in Campbell County and all of the red counties, if you want to talk about election integrity, you can do so much for election integrity in Campbell County. Why? Because if you have a conservative county commission, county board, you can pass resolutions that say, we're not going to have unsolicited mail-in ballots in our county. You can pass a resolution that says, we're not going to have illegal immigrants voting in Campbell County. And don't think that the left is not going to try to get illegal immigrants to vote in this next election. Look at the governor of Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro, who just came out a couple of weeks ago and said, we're going to have universal voter registration. Look at the people that are talking about giving driver's licenses to illegals. The governor of Illinois has come out and said that he's going to look at making illegal immigrants law enforcement officers. I want y'all to think about this. These incredible county deputies that we have here. We're going to say to people whose very first act, the very act that they have of being in the United States of America was breaking our law, and we're going to give them a badge, we're going to give them a gun, and we're going to think that they're going to enforce law. This is why Campbell County is so important. If all of our red counties stand up, if all of our red counties have good show, where's Sheriff? Sheriff, where are you? Where'd you go? Sheriff, Sheriff. There, stand up, Sheriff. If all of our counties have good, strong, constitutional sheriff, you don't want to know what a constitutional sheriff is? Look up the website, CSPOA, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. That's what you want to have in your county. Because that's how we're going to win it, at the county level. Now, the sad thing I want to tell you is that the two number one groups in the United States of America that don't go out and vote, Christians. So on Sunday, when you're sitting up in your church, turn to your left, turn to your right, and ask your pew mate, are you registered to vote? If they say yes, then ask them when was the last time you voted. You may just be surprised at some of the answers you get. Because on average, 25 million Christians per national level election do not vote. 25 million on average per national election. We're not going to talk about local elections. The other group that does not get out and vote, hunters. You don't believe it? Go ask my friend Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent pulls the hair out of his head trying to figure out why Hunter Nation won't show up and vote. Now, all of a sudden, if you come out like the governor of New Mexico did and said that in order to curtail crime, we're going to suspend the Second Amendment rights of legal law-abiding citizens. Oh yeah, they're going to come out. Will they come out to vote? So I want you to go out there next time you're going to deer blind and out there, pheasant hunting, whatever. Turn to your right, turn to your left. First of all, keep your rifle up and down range. Okay? Don't do the Dick Cheney and shoot somebody. But But ask them, are you registered to vote? When's the last time you voted? To young people that are sitting out there, let me tell you something that each and every one of you need to understand. Free does not equal freedom. When someone is promising to give you something for free, they're seeking to enslave you. They're seeking to enslave your will, your determination, your drive. Now, let me tell you something. I paid for the college education of my two daughters. I ain't paying for nobody else's college education.
Here, here.
Part of enslavement, part of the philosophy of the other side is to make you believe that you're owed something. How many of y'all remember the stupid little plastic thing that we created that was supposedly going to help the self-esteem of our kids, called the participation trophy? Remember that? I know y'all shaking your head. But guess what? Now you have kids that are 25, 30, maybe 35, and they're looking for a grown-up participation trophy. This is part of the absurdities that we allow to permeate through our culture, permeate through our society. Who would have ever thought that we would have a president, a first lady, a vice president, and a White House spokesperson that would say to you, your children are not yours? What will it take for you to rise up and to fight back against this clear and present danger that we see? Let me close by telling you why I get out and fight. Last night I got the phone call at 7:27 p.m. Central Time that my daughter was delivered at 29 weeks. She, maybe you ladies know, preeclampsia. They couldn't control the blood pressure. So my second little grandson, Levi Allan, 3 pounds, 2.5 ounces, was born. When I see the pictures of Levi Allan, strong and fighting to live, when I think about my first grandson, Jackson Bernard, who's 2.5, and that smile that he has on his face, that's the reason why I would not surrender this country to the progressive socialist left, to Islamic jihadists, to the narco-criminal terrorists called cartels. I will not surrender this country to anyone that does not understand the oath that we took as soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that we took that obligation freely without any purpose of evasion or mental reservation, and we close it out by saying, so help me God. That oath does not have a statute of limitations. That oath never ends. And furthermore, each and every one of you should have the commitment to have that exact same oath for your children and for your grandchildren. Ronald Reagan once talked about how freedom is just one generation away from being lost. And look at where we are today. The absurd things that we see happening in our country. The absurd things that you have to pass legislation that you can't have. A child under 18 can't go out and get a tattoo. Yet now, you have people that believe that a child under 18 should be able to go out and say, I don't think I want to be a little boy or a little girl. I'm making the decision to lop off my body parts. And there are certain people in government, as you know, State Senator, that will say that if you do not affirm your child's gender, you should lose your child. What the hell is that? I remember it says in Proverbs 22:6, it says, train up a child in the way that they should go, so that when they grow old, they shall not depart from it. How can Allan West, the kid born 62 years ago in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, the Blacksburg Hospital, can be standing here before you today? Because I had a dad that took that oath. I had a mother that raised me right. Told me a man must stand for something or else he'll fall for anything. It is time we retake our homes. It is time we remember Joshua's farewell address, chapter 24, verse 15, where he said, choose for yourselves today whom you shall serve. Be it the gods of the Amorites or the gods from across the river, But as for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. In Campbell County, every single one of you need to commit to serving the Lord. In Campbell County, you need to spread that message out to all counties. You need to take it to the black community. You need to take it to the Hispanic community. The community that has been the most devastated by the policies of the left is the black community. 24% of black little children, only 24% have a mother and father name. How can I stand here? I have a mother and father. I had a godfather who was a Tuskegee Airman. The Hispanic community believes in our Christian faith and heritage. They believe in strong families. They believe in good education. They believe in small business entrepreneurship. Remember this as you leave here tonight. In life, you have two choices. And I think you'll agree with me, Major Jacobs. You either choose to be a victim or you can choose to be a victor. And when people don't hear the message of how to be a victor enough, they will choose to be a victim. And America is not about victims. The state of Tennessee is not about being victims. I took pride yesterday when I flew in on the airplane and landed at McGee Tyson Airport. There was a whole bunch of them daggum Texas Aggies on that airplane. As a matter of fact, the flight attendant was a Texas A&M graduate, so as we landed, they started playing that Texas A&M fight song over the intercom. When that music was all done, and there I was with my orange on, and many of them in Texas recognized me, knew who I was. They turned and looked at me to see what my response was. My response was very simple. Always remember there would not be a Texas if it weren't for Tennessee volunteers. We don't raise victims down south. We fight like hell, and we pass on something that is greater than was left to us, to our children, to our grandchildren. God bless you all. Thank you so much, Campbell County, for having me. And let's kick Texas A&M's ass.
Stick around just for a second. The Republican Party has a couple of mementos from your visit they'd like to show up to see.
Ben Silver of Charleston. This is so fancy. This has Todd Seal, the United States Attorney. Thank you so much.
Our most well-known and distinguished president is General Carl Steiner. I mentioned him at least twice today. When we came by Big O's, I pointed out that was his office every morning at 7 a.m. So I mentioned General Steiner a few times. But a few years ago, he wrote a book called Shadow Warriors with Tom Clancy. General Steiner will be the first one to tell you Tom Clancy only wrote about 200 words. And the rest of them are General Steiner. So we want to leave you also with a copy of his book.
Thank you for coming tonight. Wasn't this one of the finest speeches we've ever heard? Thank you very much for coming tonight, inspiring us, and giving us our marching orders as we march to victory in 2024. Good night. We'll see you.
Okay, we just real quick, will y'all please help me thank Logan Hickman for being our dinner chairman. Thank you to our new chairman of the Republican Party, Maria Parton. Thank you so much. got some really good bids on those. Thank you all so much. You can pick up your auction items at the table where you bid on it. Also, I would like to thank Senator Yager for being a wonderful master of ceremonies. Thank you. Okay, now, what we have is counties. Campbell County's wonderful, but we do have some visitors tonight. And can I start with Claiborne County? We have folks here from Claiborne County stand up. How about Union County? Knox County. How about Anderson County? Fentress County? We got some folks here. Scott County? I think we have the chairman from Scott County. Thank you. Morgan County. We have anyone from Morgan County? How about Roane County? Right here. Oh. Okay, do we have any counties that we've missed? Hamilton County, please stand up. Blood County, do we have folks here from Blood County? Guess I had to leave.
Putnam County.
White County? Putnam County. You're welcome. Who else? Yell it out. Chelsea, where's Chelsea from? Jefferson. Yay. Anybody else? Whitley? Whitley County. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said, sweetheart. Cut. Oh, no. Whitley County. Okay, we're so happy to have you all. Thank you, Colonel, Congressman, Party Chair, a wonderful American. Thank you so much for coming. Mayor Jacobs, thank you, my friend, Congressman Jimmy Duncan, and thank you, Pastor Jen. That was a wonderful tribute to Israel, and we really need to pray for Israel. Thank you all so much. I'm going to turn this back over to Senator Yager, and I think that we're good.
Thank you. Good night.